morning, friends. This is Jean, your support coach and mentor, signing on a Facebook Live. Good morning, good morning, and good morning. And welcome to another day. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to another learning from losses. Even if you've not had losses, it's always good to evaluate and re-evaluate where you are. If you can take the time, trust me, if you can take the time to evaluate, was it done well? Did you do it well? And was it up to your expectations? Because often our expectations will be a guide as to what's happening and what's the result of what we are expecting. I've heard in the John Maxwell podcast that you don't get what you expect, you get what you inspect. And when you inspect your life, whether you have recent losses or no, you've had losses in the past, it's always good to take stock and say, what did you learn? Did you face reality? That's our third lesson. When you're learning from your losses, did you face reality? Often things are hunky dory, things are uh, going great, things. You're in your comfort zone. You're in your comfort zone, you're secure, things are nice, and things change. In his book, John Maxwell, when you sometimes you win, sometimes you learn for teens, he talks about Charlene's shift. Now, Charlene Schiff was a Holocaust survivor, but her story is amazing. Her story of moving from a cushy house as a daughter in a cushy house to being a Holocaust survivor and then living to tell the story is amazing. I encourage you to pick up the book and read this or read Charlene Schiff's story immediately, independently, to find out her story of how she faced reality. But what brought home to me is whatever you're facing, the elements are the same. If you've had a cushy lifestyle, if you've had a comfortable and secure lifestyle, but you have to move from where you are, you have circumstances demand that the old doesn't remain any longer and you have to do something new. What do you do? Irrespective of the depths of the loss or, the the teenagers like to call it low key, high key, right? You can see the high key elements of the change required, or sometimes it's low key. You have to take stock and you have to face reality. You have to know what worked, what didn't work, what do I have to do now so that I'm successful. And on that note, let me quickly go through my points. Life is difficult for everybody. It's not that it's easy. And you know why it's difficult? I'm not one to mutter platitudes and often heard sayings, but there is a logic to that reasoning. Life is not difficult because life enjoys being difficult. No, it's we people as humans, we want to come and learn more constantly. Now, if the ship didn't ever leave its harbor, would it ever face the sea and would it ever cross the other side? We, when we were born, we came with the intention of learning and growing and crossing to the other side. We didn't come with an intention of staying babies. Like we physically didn't stay babies, we mentally don't stay babies. We're constantly asking for more. Whether you acknowledge it or no, you're constantly asking for more, something deeper, something better. You're constantly asking if there is a feeling of dissatisfaction within you, a constant feeling of unrest, it's because your mind, your very essence, is asking you to be more. It doesn't necessarily have to be one way up the wealth ladder. When we say do more, be more, a lot of people think, oh, you want to grow wealthy and strong. No, not really. That's not what life is all about. Life is always about stretching, learning more in terms of your capabilities, learning more in terms of your skill sets, stretching more, doing more, being more to yourself, being more to your family, being more to your team, guiding your teammates, guiding people who consciously or subconsciously listen to you. You are a leader where you are, my friends. And a leader is not an effective leader if a leader has not taken stock of reality. And the challenge is not to stay mired in reality. It was great. I hate confrontation. I hate contrast. So it was a challenge for me to take up this book. But I realized a lot of things in this book I already practiced. So it was not fearful for me to handle the book and the chapters in the book. Because as leaders, we always think of the next steps, of the next best steps. Yes, something has happened. Now, what do we do? How do we cut our losses? Very important. So life is difficult for everybody. And again, no platitudes. It's not about it being difficult. It's about we demanding experiences subconsciously so we learn through those experiences. So my friends, if you're in the boat and you're saying, why me? Is it easier for somebody else? It always looks easier for somebody else. But hey, they didn't ask your experiences because they're asking their own experiences. So again, my colleagues at John Maxwell have said this: don't compare somebody's backside to your front side, or rather, don't compare somebody's front side, as in the front lawn or the front stage, to your backstage. When we are looking at ourselves, we're always evaluating, self-criticizing because we want more. So our personal standards are high, and we always think we're not doing well. We always think we're not good enough. There's never a time when you're going to be good enough. Trust me, I'm learning that there's never a time. If you're called to do more, be more, have more, go jump out, take the challenge, learn along the way. Because there'll never be a time, and you fully learned, you fully learn it, and the opportunity presents itself. Excuse me. Sorry, one of the reasons I wasn't on yesterday. So it's like a baby. The baby says, I want to walk, but the baby's not going to say, I'm going to learn to walk in my cradle. I'm going to paddle my feet up in the comfort or on the comfort of being on my back. I'm going to practice. And when I'm strong enough, I'm going to start taking a walk. Imagine that. If you are saying that in your real life situation, then how is it going? Are you moving anywhere? Let's ask you that question, right? Am I moving anywhere? I can ask that question because I'm learning the hard way that staying on your back and paddling in the air doesn't get you anywhere, right? Getting out of your comfort zone. So life is difficult, but again, not because life is difficult. It's because we are constantly asking contrasting experiences to learn from it, to learn and grow. When we learn and grow, when we look back, the same contrasting experiences don't happen again because we've gone past that to newer experiences, newer contrasts, newer learnings. So, my friends, yes, you will find that challenging. And over the times, over the years, and especially as we do a book like this, we learn how to live through those contrasts better and faster. So we continue to contribute to our community, to our family, to ourselves, to the people. We continue to focus on what our strength zones are and continue to magnify our contribution through those areas. So you will, my God, I've been repeating this so often, but you will say life is difficult. But you really have to build on a good foundation. You really have to build on a good foundation for yourself. When you refuse to learn, or when you blame others, or when you're looking for excuses, you're making life harder for yourself. So it's easier to move from failure to success than from excuses to success. Have you ever worked with anybody and you can clearly see it? You can clearly see the jump that they can make. You can clearly see the distance is quick. Just do this. It's not a challenge. Instead of doing this is what you'll do. You're the same person, same intelligence, same timing. Just do the next thing. It's so simple, but have you ever had them come back with excuses? When I'm doing, sometimes you learn for teens. You know what? With teens, sometimes that's classic. You hear excuses. And it's easy to say teens because they kind of, are voluble about the excuses. With adults, we are kind of quiet about excuses, but we still have them going as a running motor inside. So remember, it's easier to move from failure to failure. Didn't work. What you were doing, what you didn't have in place, clearly blew up in your face. Wow, that rhymes. What you didn't have in place clearly blew up in your face. So if that's an excuse, it's easier to move from failure to success rather than from excuses to success. Because when you're having excuses, you're not seeing things for what they are. You again, with excuses, there's no humility, right? Because there's blame, there's somebody else is responsible rather than I'm responsible. That's a tough pill to swallow. You mean I could have had a better life had I taken more onus? Yes, you can. Hey, I'm telling myself too, so I'm not preaching. I always say I'm learning with you. And last but not the least is think. When you pass that excuses and you're past making things difficult for yourself, few things you can do is continue to learn and keep growing. If you need help around that, my friends, we have a support group. You cannot learn and grow on your own. You have to be part of a team. You have to know who you follow on a consistent basis. You have to have um, a fitting crowd, as in, yes, you have your own friend circle, you have your own, circles at work, at home, but you have to have somebody you constantly learn from who are your peers, where you speak the same language, because then you're enthused to be more, do more, and have more. Why do you think they have these lean in circles? Why do you think they have circles of people who have fancy cars? Why do you think they have circles of people who are entrepreneurs? Why do you think they have BNIs? Because they're people who are living the same challenges, trying to achieve goals along similar lines. And when they feed off each other, their momentum is higher. That's kind of like a mastermind group. So make sure you're part of a group, you belong to a group, you're constantly learning and growing. That's the only way, my friends, to be more, do more over and above what you are. Once again, I'm learning that too. I'm making space in my life for that. So you're not alone. We're journeying together. Think, think, think. The person who faces and overcomes challenges is that person who's thinking over and above and beyond, who's thinking two steps ahead. If you're thinking two steps ahead, you're thinking of solutions, you're thinking of next steps, you're thinking of what worked, what didn't work. You're not shirking. Just because you're thinking ahead, you're not shirking reality. But you're saying, okay, this is what it is. What am I going to do about it? To come back to our main heroine, heroine in the beginning of the Facebook Live, I spoke about Charlene Schiff. A bit about her story. So she was part of a Kushi family as a 10-year-old and as 12-year-old as a Holocaust survivor. Her story is that the Jews invaded her town, and her father was gone immediately, and within 2 years, like she lost her sister and then she lost her mother. She had to leave her house, stay in streams for days together, live in haystacks, barns. People she knew and were friends with were killed because they were friends with her. People she thought she trusted would easily, for money, look to hand her over to the Jews. She ate bugs, she ate barks of trees, she stayed in graves just because that was underground. And this continued till she was about 14, and finally, and she was totally, emancipated in a sense, gone down in terms of health, till Soviet soldiers found her. Now, when she lost her mother, like she was in the stream with her mother for 4 days, and one morning she woke up and her mother was gone. Now, at every time when she lost her mother, she lost her sister, she lost her father. She could have given up and says, I can't do this, I can't live this challenge, because for her, death was always, she had to be two steps ahead of death. Death was always knocking on her door. She could have said, it's not me, I'm meant to die. They're hunting us down. This is my fate, this is my life. But for some reason, she kept thinking two steps ahead. Okay, now what do I do? Now what do I do? Long story short, she was rescued after 4 years, I believe. Huge growing. She was determined to move to USA. She did. She settled there, married an army officer, raised children. And towards the end, at close to 55, 60, when everything was done, children were old enough. Her kids are doctors now. Her son is a doctor and grandchildren. She was encouraged. Her rabbi encouraged her to tell her story so it would be an encouragement to many. Now, Charlene Schiff and all of us who've been in that situation will identify that we had to think. We had to think our way out of situation many times. We had to think of the next steps. Many of you parents, close to heart, will say, You know what? I cannot be at the same level as thought as my kids. I have to think 3 steps ahead. Well, 5 steps ahead, right? So, my friends, you have to think. Think of the next steps. Think of what will work for you. Think of where you're going and why you're going and what will be the circumstance. Sorry, this is such a serious topic. I forget that I have to smile. So, my apologies. Last but not the least, we spoke about facing reality and being ready to adjust, right? Cut your losses, says what's going to work, what didn't work. I can't depend on what was there in the past. I have to look at what is there right now and what's going to be there in the future. The best action to take today, my friends, I encourage, these are deep topics. I encourage you to journal it. Journal what you learned about the loss using the framework that I've given you. The inputs that will come through your mind uh, will be amazing. The downpour will be amazing. Your next, the breakthroughs that will come will be amazing. I can guarantee you, when you truly sit and work through this, I would encourage you, write down a list of challenges. Write down a list of challenges that you're facing. I would do it too in your work that you would like it to be, and it's not there. Write down the list of challenges that you like in your business, in your family life. This is not to dig out problems, but unless you address problems, the solution or you acknowledge, the solution won't show light because it's your questions that actually brings out answers. So this is Gene. Your questions bring out answers. If you don't have the questions, the answers won't pop up. This is Jean, your support coach and mentor, signing off on our Facebook Live. Oh, and I look forward to connect with you on some other day, on Monday, on another note of living and learning through our losses. Bye for now.